In the world in which we live, humans have the ability to find anything with a very simple search. If you are looking for any country or any person searching for a specific topic, you can find it very easily. But on the other hand, humans are all. He does not look at the world around him and begins to see the different events happening around him, and he begins to gain a great experience in life. He feels that this world is very difficult. The life we are living now is a difficult life, and it contains very terrifying nervous pressure. This nervous pressure not only affects a person psychologically and physically, but it also affects the way a person thinks. It makes the task very difficult for the person who wants to excel in his field. The person who wants to learn a specific thing or wants to continue developing himself in a specific field. The pressure that you are currently experiencing in your life can put you in a difficult psychological state. It can make you feel depressed, and the biggest problem is that you do not have enough creativity to excel in the thing that you do. And that is why in this episode we will talk about the most important advice that not only helps anyone who wants to be creative in their field, but it helps anyone who wants to continue in this life. He still has a meaning for the life he lives, and he has a way of thinking that helps him to always continue, regardless of the circumstances. Let's start. All the days that pass for a person are always similar, and at the same time the person acts like the end of a water wheel. He keeps wrapping himself around himself all day long in order to be able to do what he needs. The basic things that are supposed to be accomplished during the day, but the lifestyle that this person lives does not allow him to be creative in the field in which he wants to excel, and that is why the writer Austin Cleon advises that you do 4 important things. The first thing is to think about one day. This time, the writer says that a person who wants to achieve success and distinction in life never has a final line. Meaning that you always want to achieve the highest thing you want, but on the other hand, the person who does not think about the present and always has his mind occupied with the future will most likely not be able to achieve the greatest amount of productivity and creativity in the thing he is doing, and that is why the writer says that you should always adopt the mindset that when you think about the day you are living in, it is just that it will not always be. Your brain is thinking about tomorrow and the distant future. The second very important thing, which may appear to you as something strange, and some people may even see it as a negative thing, is that you have a routine. The idea of the routine itself, the idea that you have a specific thing that you follow every day, helps you to work, produce, and create, no matter what day you are working on, even if you have a lot of time. Or you have even a little time in the day, you follow the routine that you are accustomed to, and unlike people who do not think, the routine makes you a free person. It makes you able to continue no matter what your day is, no matter what changes you go through daily. As for the third very important thing that the writer recommends it, because you make lists. A person must have a list of goals. A list of the things he wants to accomplish. A list for long-distance trips, and a list that helps you if you write in it the things that you experience daily. The writer says that this list is your past and your future. You must carry it with you everywhere. A person must always think that one day he will die, and for this reason, a person must make lists in which priority is given to the day in which he lives. Then a priority for the week. This brings us to the fourth and final piece of advice, which is that you should not think about the day after it ends. The writer says that every day that passes for a person will not always be the way he thinks. A person will not always be according to human expectations, and a person will not continue to have the same ability. Every day. The most important thing of all is that you ultimately achieve a specific goal. You accomplish a certain thing, even if you were not able to do it the way you intended to do it. A person must always consider that the end of this day is the beginning of the next day, but the writer says that what is more important than that is that you always have a clear mind that always helps you to create and continue. For this reason, Try to always keep yourself busy. Try not to think about the day after the day ends, so that you are not in a state of nervous pressure that does not help you reach. For creativity. Mother. Writer Austin Cleon says that the important thing that helps a person to create and continue in what he does is that he creates his place of happiness. Creativity requires two things from you: that you communicate with others, and that you also communicate with the world. This helps you to be inspired by the work of others, whether they have more experience than you, or who are very creative. But on the other hand, creativity also requires a person to cut communication, and the writer says that cutting off communication occurs during very important periods, which is the period of thinking and the training period. A person who is exposed all the time to various news and notifications from the phone will find it very difficult for him if he concentrates deeply on the thing he is doing. The writer says that the greatest need in a person's life is in the current era. It is cleaning up the mental garbage that is cluttered people's minds, and the writer here advises that you arrange the environment in which you work, and set for yourself a specific number of hours in which you are completely disconnected from the world. And from here we go to the second point, which is that you do not wake up to any kind of news, one of the biggest mistakes that a person makes. He begins his day by turning on the phone and starting to see the world around him, and the day begins with very bad news about what is happening around him everywhere, and therefore you cannot obtain the pure mind that you can use to reach the greatest degree of creativity. At the beginning of the day, the writer says that before you go to work, you must do anything else, except that you follow the news, whether you play a sport, play with your children, or read a certain book. The important thing is that you, in the end, do not wake up every day on a regular basis. News. Bad. And this brings us to the third tip, which is that you use airplane mode on your phone. Imagine this with me, that you are traveling and putting your phone on airplane mode during this period. You are not exposed to anything from the outside world, and during this period you find yourself reading a certain book, trying to get tickets, trying to do anything, unlike when you are connected all the time with the internet. Likewise, the writer advises that you put your phone on airplane mode for a large part of the day during the important period in which you are doing something important. You must do this in order to completely isolate yourself from the world, and this brings us to the fourth and final point, which is that you learn to say no. One of the problems that people go through is what is called foam or fire off boot, or the idea of fear. It is something that you miss. This feeling you feel when there is a certain topic that is widespread among people, a certain trend that all people do, and here you must always stand with yourself and think about your time. You must always say no to the things that waste your time, and at the same time, you must say no to people who might ask you for a certain thing, and that thing. Are you harming yourself and not benefiting from it at all? There are some people who do a certain creative work and feel that they deserve to be called creative or an artist. Very many people keep thinking that they are going to get the title, but they don't do anything. They don't put in the effort to really deserve this title. The person who can focus on work can survive in the long run, but the person who is trying is looking for fame or is trying to find the title where people tell him that he is creative, or an artist or an expert in his field. This person will most likely not get far in his work. The one who is looking for a title is the person who deceives himself before he deceives others, and this is because not only does he not deserve the title, but this title destroys his entire life. The person who is trying to get a title is trying to work in a certain way. He refuses certain types of work and tries to present himself in a certain way to people, and then this person gains experience in life. And his experience in his position has reached the point where he is not able to compete with other people who really have creativity, and this brings him to a very important idea, which is that a person's real work is play for him. If you look at children, you will find that they learn through play, and a person always children's play is called easy, but if you look at the child himself while he is playing, you will find that this play is. It is far from easy. This child focuses all his time and effort on work, and it shows that he has a very terrible seriousness, but if you look at the best types of play, they are the types of play that do not have any kind of result. The play in which the child is very calm and does not think about a specific outcome. The writer wants to convey it by removing a very important saying, but it is a saying that we cannot translate literally. But this saying means that you must do stupid things, you must do something bad so that you can achieve the right thing, so that you can reach the highest level of creativity. You must do something with yourself, something you achieve, so that you can know your abilities, and so that at the same time, you can learn from these experiences. Every one of us has what is called hunting or what is called side hustle, work that is considered hobbies, but these hobbies are buried due to the lack of security at work. And at the same time, this material life has made a person believe that he is necessary for everything. He must have his desires and transform them. For financial work, it takes money, and that's why the writer says that you should have some hobbies. Some things that you love to do, but these things should never be linked to money, because if you link them to money, they will gradually turn into work that you do, and the problem is that this affects you negatively and makes you unable to be creative in anything that you do. The writer also says that there is something other than money that makes a person lack creativity in anything he does, and this is it. Numbers are always one of the things that prevent a person from delivering a specific thing that he wants to do, something that he excels at, and in which he can offer the skill that he has. And this comes to the problem facing most people who have a specific product that they want to sell, or who have a need. They offer it on the internet, and they are very interested in the number of views and likes on social media. The writer says that a person who leaves himself to numbers will never be able to create anything. He loves him, and that is why the writer says that from time to time, you must completely ignore numbers. And you must always try to measure the quality of your work with what are called non-quantitative measurements, which is that you evaluate your love for the work itself and the opinion of the people around you that you trust. And from here we go to an important idea that the writer is talking about. It is that when gifts disappear, art also disappears. The writer says that art and creativity have two criteria for a gift and the market. A gift is something that you give to the person you love, but this gift, according to market calculations, may be completely different. You can do work that you do not like as an artist, but the market he loves it, and that's why if a person only follows the market, the gift will most likely disappear. Art will disappear, and therefore a person who wants to do something special will most likely not be able to reach any level of creativity, as long as he is only dependent on money. The writer says that the ordinary thing that a person does with very focused attention is equal to the extraordinary thing. In order for a person to be able to do something exceptional, and this thing is very creative, he needs to think of three important ideas. The first thing is that you have everything. You need it. The person who wants to do something different or something special does not need to change much of the way he lives. But it only changes his view of ordinary things, and this is by paying very focused attention to the world around him. The second thing is that you slow down everything and draw things around you. A person who lives in the whirlpool of a very fast life often does not help him see anything around him. You cannot see the circumstances that people are going through. You cannot meditate on this world, and you do not know that you are focusing on anything, and that is why the writer advises that drawing is a way in which you rediscover the world by focusing on details, which you often do not focus on in your fast-paced daily life. One of the beautiful sayings that the book includes is that when you start, you draw something ordinary. Do you realize how much? It is unusual, and this brings us to the third and final point, which is that you pay very close attention to what you are supposed to pay attention to. Attention is considered one of the most valuable things in a human being, and that is why all companies are trying to steal your attention, and the writer here advises practical advice, which is to keep a diary. It helps you to reflect on what happens to you every day. If you sit down every day and start writing about your life, you will begin to pay more attention to it, and the writer will say that not only do you have to write a diary, but the actions that you do this thing will make you, after that, able to return to these diaries and appreciate that you yourself look. In the bigger picture, look at your accomplishment in life. One of the sentences that the writer finds stupid is that there is no better art than the person who makes this art. If you contemplate history, you will find that many very important works were produced by criminals, madmen, or people who had a very negative impact on the society around them. The writer calls these types of people monsters. The art. The writer says that there is a legend, always, that the person who wants to be special, whoever wants to be truly creative in the field he does, must be absent from his family. He must cheat and be abusive. He must be in someone's hand or do something wrong in order for him to be able to stand out from people and do something truly creative. The writer says if this art is destroying your life, you must stay away from it. It does not matter that you are a distinguished writer, a distinguished programmer, a person who creates content that can convey an idea to a large number of people, and you are unable to become a good person with the people closest to you. Art is supposed to make a person's life better, so if this art destroys your life, you are the person who makes art, then you must stay away from this art, and for this reason a person needs to think very carefully about the thing he is doing. Not only the effect of this thing on people, but the effect this thing has on him and his family. Some people are afraid. They change their minds for fear of the consequences that will make people look at them in a different way, and here the writer says that you must always think of 3 very important ideas. The first thing is that when you change, this means that you are human, this means that you are alive. This is because changing one's opinion requires a person to think deeply and wisely. The writer says that social media has made this topic terrifying, so much so that a person now not only supports his team, but also supports the brand that represents him or encourages a specific person because this person is similar to him, or because this person has a political opinion, he agrees with it. A person always enters into a process of war with the people around him in order to only defend the ideas that he is fanatical about, and for this reason, a person must constantly change his opinion. Even if he constantly changes his opinion, the internet is not the place where he shares this opinion with people. The second thing is the idea that you should stay away from similar thinking, trying not to be in a society in which all people think in the same way, and this is not only on the internet, but also on the ground, the person who deals with people who have different opinions. This helps him to rethink his ideas, and not only is he able to do this, but he is able to strengthen his ideas and replace them with better ideas. The person who is able to do this is able to excel and create much more than the person who only mixes with people who are similar in thinking. As for the third and final need, it is that you visit the past. The writer says that man is always obsessed with new things, and this is what makes a person always think about the same things. But if you cannot stumble upon a person different from you, a person with whom you can think, then you will not be able to change your thinking, and that is why one of the most important things that the writer advises is that you return to the past. You go back and read old books. Humans lived for a very long time, and all the problems you are thinking about now are in hundreds of books that were written thousands of years ago. But the problem with man is that he only thinks about the current era, and does not think about what happened in the past and learn from it. One of the important things that helps a person to be creative in anything, and to continue doing it in the long term, is to arrange his life, and the writer here advises 4 important ideas. The first thing is to keep your tools in order, and the content that you create from it. Your art will be scattered, But the second thing is that you must always think that arranging is a re-exploration of yourself. Arranging is considered a type of procrastination. Product: you avoid doing a specific thing in exchange for arranging the place you are in. But the important thing about tidying is that it keeps your mind busy, frees your mind, and helps you solve a specific problem that you thought about better. Arranging is a kind of exploration because you are looking at things that you have forgotten, whether they are old books or things that you used in the past, but have stopped using now. It helps you to rethink the needs that you have. The third thing is that sleep arranges your mind. Sleep helps a person by removing toxins from the mind cells much faster. One of the very important things that the writer advises is a nap. The writer considers it to be a kind of arrangement for the mind, even if it appears at the beginning. It may be unproductive for you, but usually a nap helps you a lot in being creative and producing new ideas. If you read old books, you will find that throughout the ages, artists from various fields have used naps as a means of creativity, and this takes us to the fourth and final idea, which is that you leave things better than you found them. Writer Austin Cleon says that creativity cannot be achieved unless you have lost what it was made of happy things, but you can make them from the things you arrange around you. Writer Austin Cleon says that one of the most important periods of his day is the period at the beginning of the day in which he can walk with his family and discuss everything in life with each other. This period, for him, is one of the most important periods in which he can generate his ideas. Walking is very beneficial for a person, especially at the beginning of the day, and it is not only beneficial for his physical health, but also for his mental health. Walking also helps a person to be liberated from the thoughts that always try to control him during the day. Whether it is the news you hear on social media or on television, or the misinformation you are exposed to all day long, you can gradually reduce the impact of walking and walking. The house: the person who is always confined inside the house and is exposed to different ideas that he hears from everywhere. He always looks at the world in a different way. Just because you come into contact with the people around you, even if from a distance, by walking, this helps you to be creative in a very great way, and it helps you to clean up. Your thoughts. The writer in 60 column says that man has what is called the cycle of creativity. The creativity that man has is like the seasons, and that is why man must always change the place in which he works on an ongoing basis. This does not mean that you must change the place of your work, but rather change the place in which you sit. In it, the landscape you are looking at changes, trying to renew from time to time the environment in which you are working. This not only helps you a lot to change, but it also helps you to be creative. The life we are living now is a very fast life, and the nervous pressure that we go through every day prevents a person from achieving many goals, and this is what makes a person unable to be creative in his field. And what is worse than that is that he may reach the point where he is unable to continue. That's why in this episode we talked about 10 very important pieces of advice that will help any of us continue in his field. At the same time, it communicates the highest possible level of creativity or advice. It's that all days are the same. The author of this advice says that you should always think about one day at a time, and you should always create a daily routine because this daily routine is the best thing that helps you continue. The third thing is that you should always make lists that help you manage your life. Whether in the week, the day, or the whole year, the fourth and final need is that you do not think about the day after it ends. This takes us to the second piece of advice, which is that you create your own place of happiness. The writer says that you must cut off your connection with the world and reconnect with yourself, and you must teach yourself not to correct it. Every day you watch the news and try to put your phone on airplane mode. A lifestyle that you follow. And the last piece of advice here is that you always learn to say no. As for the third piece of advice, it is that you always forget the title and focus on the action. A person should not think much about titles like the creator or artist, because work is the thing that distinguishes a person. The person who follows titles will never be able to excel and innovate in his field. As for the fourth very important piece of advice, it is the gift industry. The writer says that you must protect your valuable things. The hobbies that you have do not all have to turn into something that you can make money from. You must give yourself some hobbies that you are good at and that you do only for yourself. The second very important thing is that you ignore the numbers. Whether these numbers are number of sales or number of views, number of likes should be ignored. Any numbers affect your creativity in the thing you are doing. The third and final thing is that you must know that when gifts disappear, art disappears. When you do not do something creative, you do it for yourself and the people around you for free, if you change all the things you do. For a financial need that you exploit, this will not help you to excel. This will not help you to be creative. Because you are simply turning all your hobbies into a job that you do in exchange for money. And from here we go to the fifth advice, which the writer calls the extraordinary thing. In order to realize that you will do something exceptional and of very great creativity, you must focus on the ordinary thing and pay attention to it. The writer's center says that each one of us has everything we need. You do not need to have expensive tools. You only need to do the ordinary thing, but focus on it very much. The writer also advises that you slow down and draw things around you so that you can rethink the details of everything around you. As for the third and final need, it is that you increase your attention, you pay attention to the things you are supposed to pay attention to. This takes us to the sixth piece of advice, which is that you are killing a monster. Art, you must know that art is for life and not the other way around. As for the seventh piece of advice, it is to change your mind. You must know that the person who changes his mind is the natural person. If you change, this means that you favor a living being. The writer also advises that you do not get rid of people who think the same. The way you think. You must diversify the environment around you because different ideas always help you to be creative. As for the third and final piece of advice, it is that you visit the past by reading old books. This helps you very much, that you look at things differently, and it helps you that you reach creativity in the field that you are in. This takes us to the final piece of advice, which is order and distraction. The writer says that you must keep your tools in order and leave the content that you create from art is scattered, and he also says that organizing is considered rediscovery, and he considers that sleep is one of the most important means that helps you get rid of toxins and organize your mind, and this takes us to the ninth piece of advice, which is the fresh air. The writer says that you must take advantage. Walk and make walking outside the house a part of your life. Walking in itself is an exploration, and one of the scientifically proven methods that help you is that you are extremely creative, and this takes us to the 10th and final piece of advice, which is that you plant your own garden. The idea that you plant your own garden is that you are constantly changing the place where you are. You work in it. Change the place you are going to, and you are working to create creativity as one of the things that has seasons, and a person always needs to renew the seasons in order to be able to renew creativity. Yes. I hope you benefited. Enjoyed the episode. If you liked the episode, don't forget to like and share this video. It will help in spreading this content to the largest number of people.